Three things you need to know right now. First, that update from Maryland officials is expected at 6:15. Of course, we will carry that live on the air and online for you. Second, Maryland leaders are asking for $60 million in federal emergency relief to assist in rebuilding that bridge. And lastly, we do know that a crane to help remove some of the debris will arrive later today.
Our team is back in Baltimore covering everything you need to know. Our Leslie Moreno has more on the lives lost in this tragedy. But let's begin with our Scott Broom as we wait for that crane to arrive. Scott?
Well, Larry, we're watching the weather deteriorate. Caitlin just talked about winds expected to increase. We're watching the horizon as well for the arrival of this crane, which Special Assistant to President Biden, Tom Perez, said is on its way to Baltimore. So far, we're not seeing it on the horizon yet. And as we prepare to hear from Governor Moore, Maryland transportation officials, and others, here is some of what we expect to hear them talking about at 6:15. Priority now, as you've reported, is to get salvage and debris clearing operations running as soon as possible to reopen Baltimore's port and protect the jobs of the thousands who work there. It's the biggest port in the U.S. for vehicle imports and exports, for example. So that first $60 million formal request has been made from Maryland's Department of Transportation to cover the cost of the disaster so far and get the early process going. Expect many, many more requests for funding. Also, state legislative leaders in Annapolis, state lawmakers, report they're working on emergency unemployment compensation, or what they call income replacement, for as many as 15,000 workers. The legislature wraps its session April 8th, so there's not a lot of time to get that done. Meanwhile, the governors of New Jersey and New York say they've directed the Port Authority up there to work on a plan for taking in more cargo in Newark, New Jersey, and the other ports around the New York area to minimize U.S. supply disruptions. Also here in Baltimore, it's opening day for the Orioles, and that's where Governor Wes Moore talked about what he believes is ahead for the state and the city today.
Today, we are thinking about the families of Dolian Castillo Cabrera and Maynor Suazo Sandoval, who were recovered and identified yesterday. We pray for the family and the families of all of the victims of the Key Bridge collapse, and our hearts are with the families. And to all the families, we are so sorry for this tragedy.
Governor Moore putting the emphasis on families, even as authorities here say they have shifted to salvage operations, and they expect the recovery of bodies to come in the future as they begin to take apart the giant sections of this bridge, which they say are just simply too unsafe for rescuers to work around anymore. A couple of additional notes today. Marine insurance analysts are predicting there may be as much as $3 billion in insurance coverage to recover from the Singapore-based operators of that ship, the Dolly. There is a 21-person crew on that ship as well, most of whom are from India. They're still on board. They're safe. They're likely to stay on that ship for however long it takes to complete the investigation and untangle it from the wreckage of the bridge. Typically, foreign crews do not get off when they enter a port like Baltimore. They are used to being assigned and on ships for months at a time. So while it's not an unusual circumstance for a crew to stay with a ship, this is certainly a most unusual circumstance for them to be in, but they're safe. Reporting live from the Key Bridge in Baltimore, Larry, back to you.
No doubt a lot of work that still has to happen in the days and weeks. Scott Broom, thank you so much.